Hello, everyone. Welcome. Feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from and what role do you play in tech. And yeah, let us know how you're feeling, how you're vibing. And our icebreaker question for today is, would you rather visit the deep, dark sea or the outer space? Yeah, fun facts. I see some design buddies here too.
I think I'd go to outer space. That seems pretty cool. Deep sea is a little scary for me, I think.
Yeah, I never know.
And the same as Jack on this one.
Yeah, same. Go to Mars, Pluto. Pluto's nice too. Another galaxy too. Deep sea, nice. Pluto. Yeah, love Pluto. Love the space.
We're just going to let people trickle in for a bit before we officially get started. But it's cool to see where everyone's chiming in from. See a lot of familiar names, of course, through this whole program. Pretty familiar with everyone after these 5 weeks.
We have a little bit technical difficulties here. We'll get started very soon.
Hi, Min. Yeah, thanks for asking. Please refrain from adding your LinkedIn profiles here. We will add a networking sheet for you momentarily.
Yeah, all right. So I think while we're working through some of the technical difficulties for like live streaming and all that, we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. So congrats on a really, really successful past 5 weeks. We're really, really proud of all of your projects, and we're so excited to watch these amazing teams pitch today. And we hope that all of you learned a lot over these past 5 weeks. I know I have, just by looking at some of the final projects. And yeah, today's gonna be a pretty packed schedule, so we're gonna get right to it. How today is gonna work is we're going to first introduce our amazing panel of judges. And we're gonna have top 5 teams pitch today. So each team will have around 5 minutes to pitch and then have a 2 to 3 minute Q&A session. And then after all the teams pitch, we'll have our keynote speaker, Anu, and she'll be talking about her experiences in PM and a lot of great advice for how to break into PM, as well as just the product world in general. And during her keynote speech, the judges will be sent to a breakout room and we'll be discussing and deliberating about first, second, and third. And then after the keynote speaker, come back and we'll announce first, second, and third and the really cool prizes. And yeah, that's basically how the day will go. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat per usual. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, and I see some comments in the chat. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, so it's not being live streamed on YouTube right now, but it's being recorded, so we'll upload it afterwards too. And yeah, so like really quick, if y'all are new to Design Buddies and Product Buds, I'm sure y'all heard this a million times, but basically Design Buddies is the largest design community in the world, and we offer a lot of wholesome events like this, a lot of mentorship, resources to help y'all level up your design career. And this is Fluffle, this way, Fluffle Bud, our friendly mascot for our Product Slash events. And I pass it on to Kelsey to introduce Product Buds.
Yeah, so again, for those who don't know, Product Buds is an online community of aspiring product managers and just aspiring product people in general. We have a really active Slack community of, I believe, around 7K. So, join us if you'd like to learn more about product, about opportunities, doing mock interviews and all that. And yeah, you can feel free to visit us at our website. We'll pop the links in the chat in a bit. And then, yeah. All right, so we can go ahead and get started and introduce our amazing judges, Jason, Andrew, Glenn, and Sonia. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll let you all introduce yourselves. And we can start with Jason, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. My name's Jason. I currently lead content UX at PlayStation. So that's anything from games, videos, TV shows, and movies, and how people discover content and consume content on the platform, and all our partners, and kind of getting content onto the platform as well. And for the past 5 years, I also spent a significant amount of time building creator products at Twitch. So it's, if you don't know what Twitch is, it's a live streaming platform for gamers. And so really excited to be here today and see all the exciting work that you guys done. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe next up we can go with Andrew. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Awesome. Jason, we've definitely all heard of Twitch for sure. Pleasure to be here with everybody. Congratulations on your 5 weeks. It's amazing to be a part of this community, and that's what it's all about for me. Just giving back whenever I can. So happy to be a part of this event. I'm coming from being a head of product over at BarkBox, product management, product design, and part of that over at Zappos. So really happy to see y'all. There's no bigger energy of return than just giving back to the community and watching y'all just become the next generation of product leaders and just playing a little part in it. So thank you for letting me be here. Cheers. I'll kick it over to Glenn.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Just looking for some validation on my mic because I was having issues. A thumbs up will be good. Cool. My name's Glenn Nano, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I am the product lead for the original films and docs business at Netflix, which is a really fun space I get to play in. It's at that gooey intersection of content and product. So, and I get to live here in LA and not Los Gatos, which no shade to the Valley, but it's kind of nice to be by the beach. Formerly, I led the growth product team at the New York Times, and I'm a native New Yorker. So shout out to New York product people especially. And just really excited to be here. And one thing I will just say is ask edgy questions. This is a Netflix thing that we value, and don't be afraid. And hopefully Andrew and Jason and my co-judges will feel similarly. We're happy to answer, or at least I am. The edgier, the better. So hand it over to Sonia.
Thank you, Glenn. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonia. Right now, I'm a principal product and product design for an e-commerce company in Southeast Asia called Tokopedia. On the same amount of time, I am a founder of Apples. Apples is a platform where you can find an optimized virtual world for people to use for virtual activities. And I'm really excited to meet everybody here. And thank you so much for putting up the work that you guys have put up, and see you soon.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for all the intros, and really, really excited to see all your feedback and questions and comments on our top 5 teams. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. So can I just get confirmation from all the teams that, and just in the chat, specifically for the people who are sharing their screen, that you're ready to go? Okay. Perfect. Amazing. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and have team 17 present first. We'll be going in order of your team numbers. So I know Yanit is sharing screen, so I think you should have those privileges. You can go ahead and get started. And yeah, we'll stop you at 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Yanette. We are Team 17. We create Tienda. Tienda supports communities by enabling consumers to connect with local businesses that share their values and mission. The pandemic has posed many challenges to small businesses, with many struggling to stay afloat. While consumers want to be able to support local businesses, they struggle with finding information that can connect them with their community. 67% of small businesses were negatively affected by the pandemic, and 57% of shoppers specifically seek out local businesses to support. So our question is, how might we enable consumers to discover and connect with local businesses that share their values? From our survey results, we found that 50% of people find small businesses through social media. And we discovered that their biggest pain point is finding small businesses that they like and not having enough information on small businesses. And the most important thing when shopping small is their company mission and company values. And the reasons why they shop small is because they love supporting the local economy, they like finding new and exciting places, and they like supporting people of color businesses. And from our interviews, we interviewed 10 people, and the insights that we got were reviews are a key part of a user search for small businesses, but they are hard to trust. Consumers want to connect with small businesses. They want to learn about the owner, values, mission, and follow their journey. And consumers want an advanced search capabilities with filtering, tags, and business discoverability. So our solution is providing a platform for advanced search options, increasing high business trust, and having it community oriented. And I really want to show you how we're incorporating those solutions by showing our prototype. So as we go through the prototype and they're logging on, you get to learn about the app. And most importantly, you can create kind of preferences to see more of what they love. So highlights like eco-friendly, Asian-owned businesses, delivery, veteran-owned, charity-friendly. They can customize that off the bat. The way that we're doing advanced search options and filtering is having this filter option to figure out what highlights they really want to explore, popular or accessibility based, and all the other regular options. We're doing discover by categories, events, and collections to be able to discover through that. Or if you'd like just to search, you can as well, for example, restaurants and things like that. So you'll have a map pop up and you can discover it through the map as well. As you go up, you can also see the highlights on this page and see what they're all about. And most importantly, if increasing high business trust, what we really wanted to have was for people to find information very easily about the business. So we have the business owner page here, or the small business page, and we can learn about the owner, see their process and their business highlights. Are they family friendly? Yes. Are they ATM friendly? Yes. Are they hot and new? Yes. You can see more about the products that they offer and the services they offer in this tab, and then the reviews. So we made this very digestible by feature. You can see reviews with videos, review with photos, and you can sort by either keywords or by filters. Most importantly, we found based on our research that a lot of people trust their friends' reviews. So we wanted to incorporate that as well, having a friend review badge and kind of a top contributor badge. We really wanted to promote a community-oriented platform as well. So business can post, see if they're having charity events, if they're having specials, and it can let the consumers know how far the business is away from them. They can also upload events that they're hosting, whether it's a charity event or past events. And we have a newsfeed page here as well. You can discover businesses that are near you, and it will let you know how far they are. You can follow them to keep update with them. You can see what people are saying in your community. You can follow them as well. You can see what questions they're asking, suggested events. You can see what people are adding to their collections and what type of collections they're creating. And you can see your friends' reviews, people's reviews, and so on, and suggested shops. We have a section also for collections popular in your area or your friends' collections if you like to browse through that, and your own collections. And we made it really easy for people to find the information that they're looking for. So their reviews and with photos and videos and their feed, information on what questions they're asking and events they've created or where they're going to and their own collections here. So you'll be able to follow people and businesses to discover more, and you can easily create events, or you can create reviews, or you can create collections on what they want to discover. So unfortunately, there wasn't too much time to discuss the success metrics in the market. So feel free to ask any questions about that. But the end is here to support people and small businesses, to unite them and help people find businesses that they love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. That was amazing. And now we'll turn it over to our judges to ask any questions. So if you have a question, feel free to just unmute. And yeah.
Hey, Janet. Andrew,
Hi, Andrew.
Nicely done. Really appreciate the amount of information and how quickly you're able to deliver it and how well. So a question for me is around how this collection of sorts gets populated, how do you go about that? How do businesses get on there? Yeah, well, let's start with that question. Love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so it's specific for the collections. You can browse by the location, and that's really how many people are adding, saving that collection. So it's a lot more user-based on that aspect. And then you can see your friends' collections. For business to get on there, it's more if people are loving the business and seeing if they're uniting and resonating with their values and things like that. And then on the business end, they can be able to see like the amount of the number of collections they're a part of to see that stats as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps. So it sounds like, if I'm understanding correctly, there's a method for the community to essentially get those businesses on, whether the owner does it or not, and the combination thereof. Am I understanding that correct? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Cool.
I just wanted to follow and add that we did actually do a lot of research. And we actually did plan out a dashboard for businesses that would have analytics and things. However, we weren't able to get those ready in time for the start date. So that's something we would like to expand on.
Gotcha. I got another question, but happy to pass the mic over to another judge.
Okay.
Anyway. Anybody else? I'll give it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I'm curious, why do you think this or your team is more equipped to solve this problem compared to a company like Yelp, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the driving factors when creating this platform is that we had diversity and equity always in mind. We know, for example, 42% during the pandemic, 42%, the number of African-American business owners dropped by 42%. The number of Latinx business owners dropped by 32%, excuse me, and the number of female-owned business owners dropped by 25%. So we know we have a goal in mind and we want to promote small business owners versus Yelp has both large chains and small, and with the negative reviews on Yelp, it kind of washes out their authenticity, and that's what we're really focusing on, and that's how we're doing it with the community formed platform, kind of incorporating that to help people to unite as a community and see what's going on. So I think that would be the biggest difference in regards to like Yelp and by having our value-based tags. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you. And if any of my teammates want to chime in, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, one of the reasons we actually did a lot of competitor research, we included Groupon, Google reviews, where Groupon, Yelp, and those were our three biggest competitors. One of the things that we really found was Yelp had lost a lot of consumer trust because of their scandal with businesses buying reviews and removing reviews. And we found that really focusing in on the key features, such as including friend reviews, highlighting those things, really help promote trust between the users. Because back in our research, what we found is people were more likely to actually much higher rated their friends' reviews and random reviews that they saw. So that was a key feature that we really wanted to highlight.
Awesome. We can go ahead and move on to the next group, or we can have time for one more judge question if anyone has a burning question that they'd like to ask. Final call for those questions.
I have one.
Great.
Okay, so following up on what Belle said earlier, would that mean that would that be one of your success evaluation, social proof here?
So how we planned on evaluating those metrics was when users were returning, one thing that we had planned and we'd actually started working on was a coupon and stamp system. So, when you go to restaurants and come back, we wanted to incentivize users not just to visit these restaurants, but to come back. Again, we ran out of time because we really wanted to focus and we prioritized those reviews first. So we really honed in on that feature. But we did actually work on plans. We had prototypes, and if you're interested, we can show you that. and research around that coupon to re-incentivize users to come back, to choose small over large if they could. Does that answer your question?
I kind of want to chime in on that as well. You mentioned the idea of like that social proof, and so that actually that does tie back to one of our success metrics. We plan on measuring NPS score from users to make sure that we're validating that they're really getting the value and enjoying what we're offering to them with our app, as well as retention and engagement. So again, that kind of ties back to that social proof. Are people returning and finding value from our app? And so if they are finding value in our app, then they'll be returning and engaging with it, as well as being in that promoter section of the NPS. And so being able to manage these success metrics closely will help to verify that kind of social proof that you mentioned.
Adam.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Team 17, Team Tienda. That was really great. And now we'll move on to our next team. I'll hand it over to you, Kelsey.
Yeah. So our next team is Team 42. So Nathan, I think you'll be sharing your screen for Butterfly. And you can go ahead and get started now.
Hello, my name is Nathan, and today we are going to introduce to you Butterfly. It's a dating app that helps relieve stress from people's dating lives. During COVID, we noticed that friends and family were having a hard time socializing post-lockdown. So we asked ourselves, how does rusty social skills affect the dating space? Online dating before COVID-19 was already fairly difficult. In this research study of 4,500 participants, we saw that 45% of people were quite frustrated with their online dating experiences. Many of them also said that their dating lives weren't going too well. The pandemic exacerbated these issues with heightened social anxiety, extended isolation led to rusty social skills, and again, created awkward hangouts post-lockdown. This anxiety was reported mostly in young adults, who also happen to be the largest user group of dating apps. Looking deeper into the problem through user surveys, we found a pattern through people's dating lives. Friends were found to be a crucial support system in dating. Whether or not the user had a good or bad date, they tended to share the experience with their friends. However, 84% of our users also said that their social skills have worsened or stagnated during the pandemic, which led to weakened friendships and effectively weakened support systems in dating. Based on our user research and background research, it's clear that it's important in dating that we have strong friend support system and strong mental health. So how might we enable people to leverage their existing friend network so that they can alleviate their anxiety about dating post-COVID? Looking at the existing market for dating apps, it's clear that leading dating apps only focus on matching, not so much on mental or emotional support. This gap is especially prevalent in users such as Emily, who uses Bumble and Hinge, and she feels anxious about dating post-pandemic with weakened friendships and lack of social skills, and current apps are not doing anything to change this. Emily's pain points are our top two goals for Butterfly, and this is how we prioritize our features. We believe that the top two listed in this table accomplish these goals. So with Butterfly, how might we help Emily improve her dating experience? In Butterfly, there are two primary hubs. On the left side of the menu is the dating hub. On the right side is the mental and emotional support side of the hub. For feature number one, sharing mood status with friends, let's see how Emily can leverage her friend network to help her. Emily just returned from a date and she felt like it didn't go so well due to her rusty social skills. Butterfly offers a private space for Emily to reflect and recognize her feelings about the date. Emily then has the choice to share her experience with her friends in the form of a status, much like Facebook's. And Butterfly will recognize Emily's input and encourage her to reach out to her friends, such as Angela or April. If Emily's not feeling up to it, she can also utilize Butterfly support resources, such as daily tips, music, and breathing exercises. The second feature of Butterfly is sending and receiving boosts. Emily's friend April noticed that Emily had a bad date on her status, so she decided to send her a boost. The boost is an opportunity for friends to really uplift and celebrate each other's dating experiences. The boost allows friends to send custom messages, images, and gift cards. Ultimately, the boost is more than just a special custom message. It's an opportunity for friends to really engage with each other and bond over their dating experiences and strengthen their friendships. Now that we've seen the two features of Butterfly, how do we measure success? We measure success with Butterfly in terms of positive friend encouragement and positive mental health, not by the number of matches like the current dating apps. Through our user testing, we saw that Butterfly really was a platform that's more than just about dating, but it's really about a place to bond over shared dating experiences. So in the future, we hope to continue to support our users by making their dating experience stress-free. Thank you, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. That was really amazing. And yeah, I'll turn it over to the judges, just like last time. Feel free to unmute yourselves. I know Glenn didn't get a chance to ask me questions last time, so if you want to hop in first and ask me questions you might have.
Yeah, thanks for that prompt, and great work, Nathan and Yannette prior. I do actually have a question. Could you say more, Nathan, about the support aspect? I'm intrigued. And I know you just went through features 1 and 2, but like what would example be of really not incorporating the support? You say the competitive landscape, really focuses on matching. Can you say what's really missing there?
Could you clarify your question? You're asking about the support system or the dating side of things?
Yeah, maybe if you could just give another example of like what emotional support vis-a-vis Butterfly really looks and feels like as far as like a user need, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
So the support system is really focused on friends, and that's through this boost system. The status system notifies friends how each other are feeling. The boost, where the messages are sent, are the way that Butterfly supports each other. So it's really utilizing the users between each other. Does that answer your question?
Got it. So just to play it back, it's really more about like people who already know each other, like encouraging one another.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Cool. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, just to add into what Nathan's point, so that's actually a pattern that we see quite a lot in the user survey that we did. A lot of the user mentioned how sharing their positive or negative dating experience with their close friend is the best alternative they have right now. And when we look at the competitive, there isn't any feature that incorporate their close friend into their dating life. And that's why we propose a feature to include the close friend into people's dating life, so they have more supportive system for their mental health and for their emotional health as well.
Can I ask a quick follow-up to that? So are your close friends expected to be on the platform as well, or is the messaging kind of sent off platform somehow?
As of right now, it's on the platform, and that's kind of what we're emphasizing, that this is really like a formal place just to talk about dating, and that's kind of where the one-on-one chats come in and where the boost system comes in within the app.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Nathan, I have a question about the persona that you use here. It seems like you guys have tapped into more like a psychological aspect of this person, of people in general, that people who are into an online dating, they're apart from the fact that it's we're actually under COVID right now, that they seems to be like more introvert rather than extrovert. Am I right?
The app could certainly work for either an extrovert or an introvert. In our user testing, some users expressed interest in not just interacting with close friends in real life, but potentially becoming friends with people they match with on the app. So then they're actually interacting with these people on the support side of the app versus the dating side.
So with that in mind, how do you guys plan to introduce this to the market? Like, is it as a dating app or like a friends app?
I think the most important thing about app, it would still be a dating app, but it's also more than just dating app. We also want to focus on the mental health and the stress support feature of the app, so that people know that they have a platform not just to date, but also to bond over topic around like their dating life. So it would be a more supportive system. As for like what are the, I guess the primary target we can go after, I think as a starter, it would be nice for us to go after younger people, say college student or recent graduate, because our study actually found that younger people tend to have more open mindsets toward like online dating platform in general, and also they are more open to sharing their dating experience outside of their personal cycle. They are like compared to senior citizens who are more inclusive, who are more secretive about their online dating profile. Younger people would be the more easier target for us to go after as the beginning point.
To clarify, we would market this app as a dating app, and then the support system on the side is a bonus to this app and makes us different from other apps such as Hinge or Bumble or Coffee Meets Bagel.
Thank you.
Awesome. And that we have to be cognizant of our time. So thank you so much, Butterfly. That was really great. And we will move on to the next team. Kelsey, over to you.
Yeah, so the next team is team 47 with Jobit. And I think Calvin will be sharing his screen. Feel free to.
Let me just work on that. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, sounds good. All right, you can go ahead and get started whenever.
Okay, I'll just get started then. So we are Team 47 and we are building Jobit, helping people find jobs to their fullest potential. So let's look at the problem, right? We all know that the hiring process is broken, and even more so since the pandemic began. And we know from our interviews that for candidates, looking for jobs is a long process. It's uncertain, it's difficult. There's a lot of lack of recruiting transparency. Like, we don't know what's often going on the side. You submit the application and they're gone forever, right? For recruiters, we're seeing 4 out of 10 people are thinking to leave their jobs in what's called the Great Awakening in North America. And so for every job that's being left, or there's another job that needs to be filled, right? So there's an insane amount of jobs that needs to be filled. The system isn't just set up for what we are facing in the post-pandemic world. And so that's where Jobit comes in. Jobit is an innovative recruiting platform designed for the post-pandemic world. It's hosted on the web, and what it does is that it hosts fair, transparent, and efficient hiring challenges. So think Product Splash, but instead of winning prizes, you win a job offer, right? Let me go through with you what this looks like. So we have Emmy here. Emmy is a recent college graduate this year. She's a software dev. She's been looking for jobs for about 8 months now. It hasn't been easy. We have Saman, who is a recruiter at NASA. He loves his job, but right now things are overwhelming, and the manager simply aren't satisfied with the candidates he selected. So this is where Jobit comes in. Emmy sets up her profile, on boards with the platform. Instead of uploading a resume, she uploads a TikTok style video of her personal branding, what she is inspired about, her work, and then she starts applying. In the missions tab here on the left, you see that she's recommended based on her background as a software dev. Participate in the International Space Station apps mission, right? And on the right side, Saman is looking at his job postings, which created this one mission with a few other companies. And now he has to select, who are the participants that I'm interested to hire so they can compete in this challenge. Now we have a match rate system, which matches on a single score how suitable this person is, and a recommendation engine, which pre-selects all the candidates for them in case, you know, I have a phone call in 5 minutes, I have an interview, I have a run, I got to submit this real quick, right? Once it gets started on the competition, then they can do everything. The candidates can do everything on the platform, right? Timelines there, project brief, teammates, mentors, messaging, all of it's there. And for the recruiters, this is great because they can keep an eye on how candidates are doing. They can often opt in and have a look on what's being discussed in the meeting rooms. Obviously, all recorded, and it's all recorded because we use this to create a performance scorecard, right? Instead of the job interview process where you don't get feedback, you get a scorecard where you did well, where you didn't do well. This is vetted by mentors, generated by the platform. And then someone can come in and say, hey, you know, who are the top performers from this challenge? And we see Emmy is one of the top performers. You know, so someone goes to the working team, the manager, they see her work, really interested to hire her. She wants to bring her on board. Now, so Saman comes up with an offer for Emmy. Say, hey, you know, we want to hire you. We like your work. We like your attitude. Submits the offer, and Emmy on the other side looks at her dashboard and says, wow, I have a job offer from NASA, but also I have one from SpaceX. So now she's in a position where she can cut to the chase and go to negotiating what jobs is suitable for her, what are her expectations and the company's expectations. So what our platform does, it summarizes this in 5 simple steps. You know, at the end of the day, candidates land their dream job, or at least get closer to them, and recruiters have satisfied teams and managers, simplifying their job, right? And to make this successful, our one key North Star metric is the number of jobs filled on our platform. As a recruiting platform, that makes sense. We're going to track things adoption in terms of number of new candidates, companies listing jobs, number of participated challenges for candidates. If they're well designed, they will come back. And employee satisfaction, you know, are these hires actually good? Is this method suitable, right? We looked at alternatives. Right now, there's no direct alternative competitor, but the straight 3 alternatives are the traditional, you know, LinkedIn, Indeed. You know, we know it just sucks in general. Direct referrals are great if you have them, limited but not very inclusive. And
sorry to interrupt you, Calvin. That is the 5 minutes. So if you could finish up your thought and end with a closing remark, that would be great.
Okay. So yeah, let's wrap things up. Hackathons are fun. Infrastructure is out there. And we have the go-to-market strategy, 3 revenue streams, and so on, right? So this is our team. We're now open to any questions. Hello?
Thank you for that. Well, yeah, please, Glenn.
Hey, everyone. Great job, Calvin. Okay, yeah, job it. I wanted to ask, so for example, at Netflix, we definitely do exercises in the recruiting sort of like funnel. We usually do that a little bit later down the road. And our general thesis is that, you know, a 30-minute screen from HR and a 30-minute initial interview from me or another hiring manager is a small investment to make before we make sort of a mutual bigger investment on sort of product exercises. Could you walk me through what you've learned about the marketplace that's sort of like inverts that and the pro and con?
Sure. So this is designed for companies who, you know, typically the interview process has like multiple rounds of interview, right? You want to screen down at every stage. But for over here, instead of having the working teams and the managers directly go into, let me show you here, directly go into the interviews, they can just say like, okay, you know, like this challenge was designed to assess this specific amount of skills. I don't have to go in and do the whole hour. They can just say that, okay, we watched the video, the message is good. Does this sort of answer your question, or do you want me to go in more detail?
I mean, I think you answered the sort of like context of my question, but I think implicit to that is, you know, my wondering out loud whether you're focused on this problem. I love the thinking. Yeah, it's a question and a comment, but yeah, we can move to someone else. Thanks, Calvin.
I just want to add to that as well. So in terms of like application stage, it would also like kind of save a lot of times in terms of kind of getting rid of even the having to filter through any of the applications as well. because we do have that matching rate in which you can, it's based off of like things like the resume and as well as the job description to figure out a match. And in that case, it will save a lot of the time for the HR recruiter as well.
Oh, sorry, Jason, go for it.
Oh, okay. So while we're on the screen, I'm actually really curious about the scoring system here, with evaluating sort of an exercise, right? Whose job it is to kind of go in and give these scores. Because I mean, if you think about design, it's not black and white. It's not like right or wrong. So like it's potentially really challenging to evaluate tons of these different projects. And so I'm just curious about like how these scores are derived. And then also a second part of the question is for something like work ethic or adaptability or something that's like more interpersonal, like how is that how is that derived?
Yeah, so we really thought about this. It's quite challenging, right, to automate these things. This is something that you pick up from in-person conversations. And that's why we have everything recorded, right? We have all this data to screen through. We have an algorithm that will look at the actual deliverables, what they produced. You can measure things like how much they contributed to the project, were they on time and things, like very basic professionalism standards. And obviously, we also have the mentors as well who comes in to really check in on like how this person's doing, how's this team doing. So it's a mixture of both human input with like some machine learning, which would need to be developed for this to be successful.
And each team is consisted of like a PM, a designer, and developers. So you can also kind of like get feedback from each other in terms of at the end of the challenge, the PM would give feedback of the designer as well as the developer. So everyone gets kind of that like feedback from the collaborative sense, as well as in terms of working with them, how was it like, in addition to the mentors as well.
Awesome. And I do have to be cognizant of time here. Andrew, I know you have a question. We could get to that. And if we could just make the answer shorter, that would be great.
Hey, thanks, Jack. All right, so I'll try to make this question short. I saw that the candidate in one scenario received 2 offers. Is that based off of one competition, or did they have 2 unique competitions that they had to go to, one for SpaceX, one for NASA? How's that work?
So over here, let's keep it short then. One challenge can have multiple companies, should have multiple companies. So something that's grouped together, so NASA and SpaceX are both space companies. That way you don't have to apply for multiple challenges to get multiple offers.
Thanks, Calvin.
Awesome, great job, guys. That was really cool to see the breakdown. And Kelsey, over to you to our next team.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for the presentation and questions, everyone. So the next team will be our 4th team to present, Team 50, Beacon, and I think David will be sharing screen.
Hey everyone, 1 second. Can everybody see?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. 1 moment, sorry. Okay. Hey everybody, my name is David. I'm part of Team 50, and our product is Beacon, which is a platform that allows users to share their stories and experiences with anti-Asian racism. And so just some context with the issue. Recently, anti-Asian hate crimes have surged by 149%, despite overall hate crimes dropping by 7%. And this data does not include the many hate incidences that often go unreported. And so that brings us to the following problem statement, which is the recent increase of anti-Asian hate crimes has left Asian Americans feeling frustrated, hurt, and unsupported. And so considering this, how can we encourage helpful and constructive conversation on anti-Asian racism? Our team sent out a survey and we came back with two major conclusions. The first conclusion being people generally use social media to stay informed, but usually it's ineffective in terms of facilitating discourse. And the second conclusion is people usually seek support from others with similar ethnic backgrounds because it's usually difficult for others to empathize with them. And so this brings us to our user personas, where the main pain points are lack of ability to make an impact on others, uncertainty in terms of support or resources, as well as being uninformed. And so our goals in this sense are to stay informed, to seek support, as well as to have a space where people can communicate as well as have discussions with other people. And so we found that if we create a safe environment for users to share as well as discuss, then these users will be able to make an impact as well as empathize with each other. And so this brings us to the solution, which is Beacon, our mobile app. Users are able to create as well as share stories. Users can also explore posts as well as discuss issues and stay informed. And we hope that our platform can not only amplify Asian voices, but also encourage and enable greater conversation on anti-Asian racism as well as racism in general. And so now I'm going to go over to our product prototype. So this is what it looks like logging into our app for the first time. Users are able to see what's trending, what's recent, and also explore different posts as well as topics. We've also included a map so people can see where these posts are coming up based on what location. And users are also able to filter for different tags on the different posts and content that they want to see. And users are able to react to posts as well as comment on posts. And suppose I want to create a post. I also have the ability to adjust the advanced settings for sensitive content as well as post anonymously and turning off commenting. And lastly, this is the screen for our profile so people can see posts as well as activity, save posts, as well as adjust other settings. And so we did perform some usability testing on our app, and we got some user feedback. And this is something that we plan on doing going forward in terms of iterating over our app and different features. Our current business model is sort of addressing the Asian American population, but we plan on expanding to other POC populations in the future, especially those that are impacted by racism. We plan on utilizing ads as well as affiliate marketing, and we hope to initiate partnerships with organizations, activists, and influencers. In terms of success metrics, our main success metrics will be gathered from survey, where we kind of get to gauge how people are feeling in terms of support, how people feel about being vocal about their thoughts, as well as how people feel about being informed. And we'd also like to focus on user engagement, post engagement, and user retention. And as for next steps, the first thing we do is complete development of our app. The next thing is to iterate over our app based on feedback as well as testing. We'd also like to support the Asian community as a whole, as well as explore other features that we can add to our app to increase trust, such as learning resources, expanding to other POC communities, as well as creating community-specific spaces.
Awesome, great job, right at the 5-minute mark too. And now we can pass it over to our judges for any questions they might have. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That was a great presentation. I have a question on that in regard for with the market opportunity that you tapped into. How do you plan to keep on the safety of this app in regards of who's getting into the platform?
So one of our primary concerns was like spamming as well as trolling. We know that that's a concern with a lot of other social media. So something that we plan on doing is having a team of moderators, as well as adding different features to be able to report content. And actually, another thing that I like to point out is we added this sort of feature. If you can see like level 1 under the profile, we want to add some sort of feature that sort of is like an engagement metric. And that sort of adds another layer of credibility as well as reliability for posts that people will see on their feeds.
Thank you. Pass it on to another judges.
Great. And I saw Glenn, you had a question as well.
Yeah, great work, David and team. It seems to me from running through the product, first of all, kudos on very clearly articulating sort of like your problem statement and how you're trying to address it. But from the product demo, prototype demo, it seems like you guys are really focused on kind of two main things, like the sort of exposure of tags and metadata. Maybe my eyes went to it because they were sort of colored little pills. Could you talk more about that as your solution path? And you laid out that you wanted to amplify. Like, do you really see sort of like being able to expose tags as the best way to amplify? And is that your value proposition over just other places where people will post content where the networks are already there, like Twitter, Instagram, etc.?
So to clarify your question,
in terms of like amplification versus like big platforms where people are already posting and talking.
Yeah, so we found that there are other like avenues that people use to post social media, but it's not very focused on like discourse and discussion over these issues. And we want to be able to allow users to have those options to tag different things that they've experienced before. And we think, that really opens up the floor to discussion about these specific events of anti-Asian racism. I don't know, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and can you talk more about, I mean, this is really a question for all 4 founders teams so far. Like all of these solution paths depend on creating networks. So we can hand wave that for the moment because it's a fun, great discussion that we're having all around, but that is a really hard problem. So, but coming back to the concrete question, David, like, there are big networks where people are, I would push back and say like, there's plenty of conversation and it's very obvious that you can and should debate and talk on Twitter. Sometimes it's toxic and annoying, but there you have it. I just wonder like, what is the differentiating factor when you say amplify that would get someone to come away from Twitter? So that was that question.
I think our team really wanted to focus on having impact. And I know that's really general, but a lot of our next steps, focus on actually bringing a lot of this conversation to have sort of tangible impact. And we want to bring that to like the greater Asian community in general. And sort of what we found through our research is that a lot of these other avenues of social media, people are having discourse, yes, but they feel like they aren't creating as much of like a tangible impact. So that's definitely something we wanted to amplify voices, but also to have people feel like, they're making real difference.
Well, thanks.
Also, my team can also hop in whenever if they'd like.
Yeah, I can add a little bit about that actually. So like when we were researching, 78% of, there's a stat that 78% of users are more attracted to apps that have a sort of an emotional appeal. And most of our survey research told us that people feel lost on these platforms where they're already talking and they feel like their post is just one of many thousand posts. But with our platform, we have an emotional appeal where people can empathize with each other and they can meet like-minded people. And that is what sets us apart from other platforms.
Awesome, thank you for that. We are running a little bit over time, but I see Sonia, you have one more question. So let's go ahead and ask that before we move on.
Okay, so one last question is that, did you guys see any type of monetization plan that you guys have with the current feature that you have?
Yeah, Sonia, so I can take that question. So currently, our business model is not, our app is not paid in any way, but I think in the future, we plan on making sure that the quality and the quantity of the content is, really up there, and really having a plan to ensure that we have that, so that in the future, we can turn into a paid subscription model, where users, we can put up a paywall, and invite known speakers and activists to come and create content as well, so that we can increase trust in the app as well as quality of content, so that we can attract more users to the app that will be willing to pay for the app.
Thank you, Lynn.
Great. Thank you so much, Beacon.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll move on to our next present.
Yeah, so for our final team presenting, it's team 57. And I think Isabella will be presenting screen.
Hi guys, I'm Isabella here with my teammates Jen and Sandy to tell you about Aidance, an app building comfort in asking for help. Let me introduce you to Mary. Mary is 30 years old. She lives with her long-term partner and one child, and she's been struggling with depression for over 5 years, typically for months at a time. When she feels depressed, she really struggles to get tasks done around the house, even really simple ones like brushing her teeth or combing her hair. Money is a big concern in her household, so she can't hire help or even order in food when she's struggling. She has friends and family to turn to, but she doesn't really feel comfortable going to them for help. She mainly relies on her partner, but really struggles to communicate about her depression and needs to her partner and how her partner can actually help. In our research to understand better people with depression like Mary, we found 4 main pain points. The first and biggest is that even though 49% of people with depression first turn to friends and family for help, they really aren't comfortable talking deeply about their depression and going to them for help because it makes them feel really vulnerable and uncomfortable and like they're going to be judged. The second is that their spouses approach depression like a problem to be fixed, something that they can solve with an action, which leads to a lot of frustration for both parties because depression doesn't work like that. The third is that people with depression really struggle with self-care and prioritizing themselves. And the fourth is that even when they use apps for depression to help them, it feels like more work and a chore to do, even when the apps are helpful. And it's often really discouraging when when they can't keep up with those apps. With all of this in mind, we embarked on a journey to answer the question, how might we help make people with depression who aren't comfortable opening up more confident and comfortable in asking their loved ones for help? And our solution is Aidance. Aidance is a task sharing app that's making users more comfortable in asking for support for people with depression who struggle with turning to their friends and family for help. In Aidance, you can create a group of your friends and family and loved ones, and then create tasks and task lists and share specific tasks with that group of loved ones. And on the flip side, you can also help other people who you're in their groups with tasks. Our basic features include task creation, group management, positive feedback regardless of task creation, to name a few. And our premium features include adding additional details for tasks like locations or instructions, as well as timed reminders and awards for completing tasks. For people with depression, we offer a value of decreased workload and increased confidence in their ability to rely on loved ones. And for friends and family, we offer decreased frustration over not being able to actively help their depressed loved ones. There's a lot of competitors in this space of task sharing, task management, but our competitors tend to have lots of layers of organizations to get through before you can access a single task. And their sharing features primarily operate through copying the text of tasks and sharing those through email or text message. And they have a lot of features like tracking progress towards task completion goals, features that can actually be really discouraging for users with depression. Aidance, on the other hand, prioritizes simplicity and ease of use. The task sharing is entirely within the app, and there's complete control over the task by the task creator. We estimate that this app has a $1.7 billion total available market and a $13 million serviceable obtainable market. And this app operates under a freemium business model with a $2 per month premium subscription fee for the features mentioned earlier. Our target metrics for success and our goals are to achieve 20% of the tasks being created having help requests associated with them, coupled with having 30% of those tasks with help requests completed through the help of loved ones. And through this, we are trying to measure our success in making people more comfortable asking for help. But we also have a metric of less than 3 minutes an average session duration, because we want to ensure that this is a simple and easy to use and intuitive app that they're not going to get frustrated with and stop using. We plan to accomplish this through our design and development timeline. This week we'll be starting a landing page test and user testing, redesigning based on the feedback from that, and adding additional features to get to our MVP, doing MVP testing, and then developing QA testing, and then launching in late October. Let me walk you through our app a little bit. Basically, you sign up.
You're right at the 5-minute mark. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right. Perfect.
So maybe with a closing remark, or you could show this a little bit during the Q&A session, that would be great.
Yeah.
And with that,
great place.
Awesome. We'll turn it over to our judges. Thank you.
All right. Hey, nice work with, as you answer this question, feel free to run through the mock a bit, but curious to see, well, I like that you put a revenue forecast in. I think that's probably the only revenue forecast so far, but curious how you went and formulated that.
Yeah, so it took an estimation of the service obtainable market, estimated that we could get about 5% of that in the first year, and then additional 2.5% every year after that. And that's how we got to revenue. And in terms of costs, took into account things like wages, because our team does not have development skills, as well as server costs and how that would grow over time, app store fees, and the cut of revenue from that. Use that to get to our profit margins.
Thank you.
Just to quickly follow up on that, what exactly is the serviceable obtainable market? Is that the folks with depression in the US or globally that needs help?
Yeah, so the serviceable obtainable market is people with depression in the US who both fit our persona and actually subscribe to our app with depression. And to get to that, we used data from the survey we sent out to figure out who actually fit our persona and the percentages of people with depression from that.
Got it.
I'll go ahead and ask another question. Isabella, what might the experience look like?
Yeah, happy to show you. Very quick walkthrough, normal sign up, add a little bit of information about yourself, photo, you create a group, you get to name it, add the people that you know and love. You've then started the app, no task lists yet, so you can create your own task list, name it whatever you want, start adding tasks. Pretty simple, which is the goal. Add the tasks, call them whatever you want, can check off tasks, and then you just use the simple button to share a task with your family or friends or whatever you want to call your group. And then you have this little symbol here to indicate that this task has been shared, you've requested for help. You can click done or go back to get to your lists, can easily check things off right off the bat, just to add to simplicity. You can go to this others task section, which we included for all users because we found that a lot of people with depression also had loved ones with depression. So at any given time, you could be someone who needs help or a helper. And sometimes it can be an easy thing like, oh, I know they need to walk the dog, I'll just walk my roommate's dog. Or could be something like hiking where you need to talk to them and find out more information. But once the task has been helped with, you simply click the help button. It gets checked off on the person's list. Simple as that. And then can go to this button here and manage your group at any time.
Thanks, Isabel.
Awesome. And with that, do we have any last questions? We have time for maybe one more. All right. If not, I'll hand it over to Kelsey. Great job, Team Aidance.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for those amazing presentations. Really, really loved seeing all your ideas. So now we're going to jump into our keynote speaking session as well as our judging session, since all the teams have presented. So I'm really, really excited to present Anu as our keynote speaker for today. And I'll also be bringing all the judges and myself into a breakout room. So yeah, Grace, if you could manage the main room.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, everyone. That was so great. And I just love all the little details, like for example, like the Zoom background coordination. I just love, and I love some of the prompts y'all, I love all the prompts y'all try to tackle with your prototypes as well. And we're gonna hand it off to Anu for the keynote speech. And throughout the time, I've been filming some Instagram stories, and Product Buds has been reposting. So make sure to follow both Design Buddies and Product Buds on Instagram to see all of your presentations. And with that, I'll hand it off to Anu. And I'll make sure you are a co-host so you can share your screen.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Grace. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me here. And I was, I've been watching, I think I've watched almost all of the presentation decks, and, fantastic job, everyone. I think, in my eyes, you're all winners. As Grace mentioned, you've all tackled some very exciting prompts, and I'd love to kind of see, where you guys take these projects in the future. So with that, I'll kind of get into my, topic for today, and I'd love to, present my talk and then also open it up for questions at the end. So let me introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Anu, and I'm currently a director of product at an early stage health tech startup. And I've also been a featured product speaker, spoken at Product School, Women in Product, several other, product communities, and absolutely love kind of, not just sharing my experience, but also mentoring and coaching PMs and, aspiring folks to make a career in product. So my topic for today is to essentially, potentially share some inspiration through my own journey into product, and share some advice along the way, and also be able to answer some questions for you guys. So yeah, just a little bit of housekeeping. So I'll start off with kind of walking you guys through my journey into product, how I essentially landed where I am today. And then, kind of talk through how you could position yourself if you're looking into potentially breaking into product, or if you're already a product manager and you want to kind of scale up, how might you be able to do that? Also want to talk a little bit about the interview process for product management, because I'm sure that a lot of you know that product management interviews look very different company to company, and what can you really do to prepare yourself for that. And then really kind of walk you guys through what to be successful 30, 60, 90 days into a job as a PM. I also realized there are a ton of designers here, so I'm sure some of these things are very transferable to design as well, but yeah, just wanted to caveat front. All right, so let me kind of start off by kind of walking you guys through my journey. So, I think my motto has always been to follow my own path and to kind of stick to my niche in terms of whether it was product management and also kind of following my passion. So I actually graduated with a degree in biomedical engineering and then also in engineering management. And kind of through my undergrad, I realized that, hey, technology is great. I love kind of being, the research side of things and developing algorithms and, medical imaging sciences. But at the end of the day, I kind of wanted to be in the front line of technology and business. And so that's kind of what motivated me to go to engineering management school. So I went to Dartmouth and got an MEM degree. And then I wanted to follow my passion for healthcare because, I'm really kind of excited about the opportunity technology has to essentially transform lives. And I started my career at this company called iRhythm, which at the time was an early stage startup. And the beauty of that, that role was that it was kind of like a jack of all trades where, I got to come into a small team where I could essentially take on a bunch of different projects, try my hand at a whole different slew of things ranging from algorithm development, testing, analytics, and then also dabbled a bit in product. So the way I kind of transitioned was actually just internally. So I literally took on projects within the job that were very sort of aligned with what a typical product manager does. So one of the projects I worked on was an internal tool, essentially improving and reducing scan times on that tool to essentially enable us to make reports faster. And then I also had an opportunity to launch iRhythm's first mobile app for symptom management, which really was my first tryst into consumer product development in the digital world. And, absolutely loved what I was doing and literally went up to the leadership team and said, hey, I want to continue doing this and I want to formally transition to a product role. Can you guys, help me with that? And at the time, there wasn't even really a product organization at the company. And so it was kind of, working with, the leadership team and rallying folks to realize the value of having product management and, a full-fledged design team in-house. And being able to really create that path for myself within the company. And I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. And, now the company has a pretty big product team and there are lots of initiatives that they've been having on the digital side. And then, I kind of realized that there was where the market was heading, right? And there was, a pretty big need for product management in digital health, as digital health was kind of becoming an industry of its own. A lot of players, both large companies and startups, were kind of breaking into the space. So I felt that there was an opportunity for me to, position myself here and essentially transition to a product role at a larger company, kind of doing the same thing. And so that's when I moved over to worked as a PM in a couple of big companies after my stint at iRhythm. So I went over to Samsung Health and then over to Genentech. And then, I think by the end of that, I kind of gained a lot of expertise, both on the strategic side, trying to understand where the market was heading, what was sort of driving value in the space. And then also on the tactical side as to how do you take, the vision and strategy all the way to execution and, create product with successful metrics. And so, right now I'm currently, directing product at this early stage company, and I'm also a hiring manager now. So I've been, pretty actively hiring designers and product managers in my role. And so, yeah, I think, from my kind of story, transitional story here, I think what I would like to say is try to stick to your area of expertise. And, I think for me, that's been really helpful, at least. So, which kind of brings me to the next couple of points, right? So how do you position yourself while thinking about a career in product, whether it's digital product management or basically product development? So my advice would be to craft your own unique story, right? So I personally, when I coach early stage PMs and mentor folks, my advice for them is to think about their life experiences and kind of what has gotten them to where they have been today, and what really inspires them and what fulfills them, right? And really kind of thinking about what are some unique aspects that this individual can bring to the table that maybe someone else cannot. And how do you kind of watch out for being another me too, right? And so for me, I can personally say that I definitely had this phase while being at iRhythm, kind of transitioning from a technical role to a product role, where a lot of times I would kind of see successful product managers having a CS degree or getting, having MBAs from top tier schools. And, I had definitely had that imposter syndrome where I was do I need to also have all these cookie cutter kind of requirements to be in product, or can I essentially carve a niche for myself, right? And what's my story and what really motivates me to get into product in the first place? So I think, I would encourage you guys to do the same as you think about sort of breaking into product. And I think once, once there's that aspect of, understanding, self-introspection and kind of understanding where your strengths are, I would absolutely encourage you guys to build your own personal brand. And, this is kind of where for me, this was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone where, I think also being an Asian woman in general, like it's always been about kind of, be humble and so on and so forth. And so it was a lot of like, it took a lot for me to kind of start blowing my own trumpet in a sense and, creating my own online portfolio, showcasing the right projects. So for me, actually, one of my challenges was outside of like a couple of projects at work, I hadn't had a ton of like consumer product experience. So I actually did something very similar to Product Splash where I had, taken on a couple of product initiatives where I essentially took something from ideation all the way to productization and essentially highlighted all of those assets on my portfolio as a way to showcase my product thinking skills, my design skills. I also, picked up design, a couple different design tools like Figma and InVision to kind of, get into the weeds of actually creating mockups and prototypes and, being able to take things to users to test out. And I think I personally found that experience to be tremendously helpful. I would also say that, side projects are a great way to kind of build on certain aspects of your skill set, which you may not necessarily be getting in your current role. And for me, as I said, like since I was focused very much on health tech and building kind of medical devices and digital products to support them, I wanted to kind of dab a little bit on like pure kind of B2C applications that, would be something that I would otherwise not be able to get in my current job. Yeah, so moving on to, so I guess once you've kind of positioned yourself and once you've kind of identified what kind of opportunities you want to chase, obviously, the next big step is kind of rocking the interview, right? And I personally have done a lot of interview practice, right from reading, Cracking the PM Interview by Lewis Lin to actually, finding opportunities to network with other aspiring PMs and, doing mock interviews with them. I personally find that to be the best way to really kind of hone in your, your thinking skills and also exercise that muscle, which gets you to kind of, in a span of like 10 to 15 minutes, really think about a very kind of blank space product statement and kind of, bottle that down into an actual solution, right? So I think that was, for me personally, like looking back, I think just doing those mock interviews with other peers have been tremendously valuable in my career. And of course, I know as a hiring manager, now that I'm kind of a hiring manager myself, like something that I definitely notice is that sometimes people can be over-prepared where, I've definitely seen cases where the answers definitely seem rehearsed, and that's definitely something you don't want to you don't want to come across as. And yeah, and I think as a hiring manager as well, one thing I will say is that we are at the end of the day, like it's not just about skill sets, it's also about kind of the culture fit and the personality fit, because more than anything, more than the fact that I think skills are something that one can also pick up on the job, like those are absolutely trainable, but personality and culture fit, like that's something that you either have or you don't. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that definitely, that's something that you should evaluate for yourself as well as a candidate, right? When you're looking at opportunities and evaluating kind of what might be the best fit for you. But yeah, I think practice absolutely never fails with interviewing. So yeah, then once you kind of have a job as a PM, what does it look like for the first 30, 60, and 90 days? My advice here would be to be inquisitive and question the status quo as much as you can. The best way to kind of unearth user problems and understand why things were done a certain way. Why was this, feature built this way? Why was, why did we take this infrastructure decision? So on and so forth. Like the best way you would kind of learn more about, how your team approaches problems and what problems they are currently solving is to ask questions. And absolutely, build connections because, I'm sure you guys are already aware, like, networking is so important both inside your job and also outside. So as a PM, I don't think you get much done without rallying your team, whether it's your design team or your development team. So it's absolutely important to make sure that you build a connection with them and, set up one-on-ones. Don't hesitate to set up one-on-ones, even if it's with your VP or director. Because ultimately those things go a really long way. And yeah, and I would also like definitely think about more deeply about kind of the company's mission statement. Why did they kind of set out to do what they're doing? Why were certain roadmap decisions taken? And again, this kind of goes back to that, questioning mindset, right? Like definitely question things, and that definitely, opens up a lot of opportunities for conversation. Yeah, so that's all I had for my talk. I would love to kind of open it up for questions to you all. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, also have my own website. And I'm also open to, one-on-one mentoring and coaching if anyone's interested in product management and health tech. So yeah, with that, I'll pause and open it up to folks for questions.
Yeah, that was great. I love like aspect of personal branding and really just owning your unique stories and your likes and your interests and stuff and helping you stand out, because that's like a big question people think about as they need a tech, like how do I stand out amongst like all these applicants? And I really like the content you presented as well. Yeah, and so we can do Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat. If you would rather unmute yourself and ask, then raise your hand and we'll call you on.
Yeah, that was really great. I just wanted to thank you and take a moment to also, I love that you talked about self-advocacy and then practice right after, because I do feel like that is such an important skill to develop. And I feel like oftentimes it isn't really talked about a lot as a skill. So that was really great to see the succession of you talking about your own journey in self-advocacy and then how you kind of took the next steps to practice that and then learn, tools of the trade to level up. So that was really great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. I think that was probably one of the hardest learnings in my career, where I think some of it started internally where, I would kind of watch senior leaders at my company do that and, be able to essentially make their point and be able to essentially, make things happen, right? And so both in terms of moving up, kind of getting things done at work and also kind of being noticed by outside and building an external kind of portfolio, I think it really helps to advocate for yourself. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if you're not going to do it, I don't think anyone else is going to do it. And even if you want other people to advocate for you, you still have to make the first step to ask. And so, yeah, I absolutely don't think that ever hurts.
Yeah, I always think, what's the worst that can happen? And what's the best that can happen? And will I care in 5 years or like 1 year? And then just go for it. Just shoot your shot, everyone. Yeah.
And absolutely. And I think the other counter to that is that you should be able to take no as an answer, right? I mean, to your point, like if you ask what's the worst that can happen, maybe someone says no or not this time. And that's absolutely something you should be okay with. And I think as product managers, I think definitely grit is something that we need to kind of develop early on, because a lot of our job is mostly, making hard decisions and trade-offs in terms of, doing one thing versus another, building this feature versus something else, negotiating really with your team in terms of, hey, can we get this feature done in this timeline? And can we get this customer request in? So I think, I think definitely developing that grit and being okay with things maybe not going to plan and being able to come up with, have backups in your kitty and creating those two-way doors, I think are super important.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I just saw in the chat, Jerry Yan has a question. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want.
Yeah, hi Anu. I had a question related to like PMing at a startup versus like a big tech company. And now you're at a startup. So I was wondering if you could share maybe like why you decided to return to a startup, or like what are the pros and cons between PMing at a big company and a smaller startup?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So in my learnings, I think one of the biggest differences in big companies versus startups is that you just have a lot more stakeholders to, manage at bigger companies, because, and decision-making just gets a little bit more drawn out because of that. So for example, when I was at Samsung and Genentech, like a lot of my time would go around kind of explaining the same deck to like 5 different people, just because either due to timing reasons, I wouldn't be able to get everyone in the same room, or maybe, my director would say, hey, let's go with that. But then the VP would be like, hey, no, let's kind of revisit this thought, right? And so just the time to decision-making and the time to market sometimes can take a little bit longer at these larger companies, which personally for me is a little bit frustrating, just because, I'm just someone who likes fast-paced work. And I think the ability to make an impact is definitely much larger at smaller companies. So that's kind of what kind of brought me to come back. And I think the on that similar note, I think just being able to make decisions more quickly and being able to move faster on product decisions. And the other piece I would say on the flip side is that at larger companies, you often have more resources just to get things done. So for example, we would have, even in just UX design, we would have a dedicated UX writer, we would have a animation person, and like someone to do like video illustrations and so on and so forth. So like we would have a whole range of resources to leverage to create better quality work. Whereas in smaller companies, you really have to be very nifty about how you do these things while still creating that amazing end user experience, right? So I think, yeah, those are maybe one of the pros and cons of, at least that I've personally experienced with both.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a really great question. Thanks for asking that one. If anyone else has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. In the meantime, I kind of have one kind of bouncing off that last question. It would be great if you could share some experiences of what it kind of looked like, that cross-team collaboration with designers and developers in these different kinds of smaller and larger companies too.
Yeah, great question. So my personal style of product development has always been to be as transparent and as inclusive as possible from the get-go. And this is something that I've been able to practice both at smaller companies and larger companies unanimously. It's just that at larger companies, it just gets a little bit harder because you might have multiple teams that are located in different geographies. And so, oftentimes like just that coordination aspect can be a little bit challenging. But the way I've kind of navigated that challenge in larger companies has been to kind of identify leads and advocates early on. So, if the design team at larger companies, like for example, if the design team has like 6 people, maybe I don't want to have my initial sort of product hypothesis conversation with all 6 of them, but maybe there's an advocate who can essentially represent the group, bring in their pain points, and also be able to communicate feedback back to them. So identifying those advocates early and getting signed off even in terms of whether everybody agrees that these are kind of the owners for each of those stakeholder teams are the right people that have been identified is definitely a good thing. And again, on the note of being transparent, one thing that I also really like to do is to just keep people abreast on happenings like as often as I can. And this is something that, I think as PMs, we always think about like different ways of communication depending on the topic. So like, for example, if it's something very tactical in nature, maybe it's just sufficient that we talk to like designers and engineers and get that resolved quickly. Whereas if it's something a little bit more strategic, which maybe requires like buy-in from, let's say the VP, like we need to get a budget sanctioned to do another user research study or something. And that way, like we have a different communication style and a different channel to be able to raise that request, right? I think some of that gets a lot more streamlined in smaller companies where, at least here at this company I'm working at, like I have a pretty direct line with the CEO. So, those requests just get a little bit easier to manage where I don't have to go through like 10 different layers to get that approved, right? But I think, yeah, once for me, like personally, just being transparent, being really upfront about things and, rallying the team, because at the end of the day, like when, designers and engineers are working on features, like just having that end user context absolutely helps them kind of make the right decisions themselves as well, and arms them with, the right context when they're developing products. That way, like when there's sudden feature changes or scope creep, they're a little bit more kind of willing to understand the context behind that rather than just being really pissed about, things changing last minute.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's really relevant to everyone here as well as they kind of continue through their career trajectory and determine whether it makes sense for them to work at a smaller or larger company. And we have another question in the chat. Grace or Doris, would you like to read that one?
I can just read it. I don't. Oh, Doris, do you want to go?
I can read it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah. So Survey asked, how different is the recruiting process for startups versus big tech companies? She also mentioned that she's heard, usually for startups, it is important to know some or most of the key people in the startup.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I definitely have different perspectives on. I I definitely don't think it's true that you need to know people in startups to be, or like important people in the startup to be able to get a job there. I don't think, maybe that's a myth in my opinion, but typically I think being a hiring manager at a startup myself, I can say one of my biggest challenges has been hiring folks with the see, myth busted. Yeah, I think for me, I think the biggest challenge has been hiring folks with the right level of experience, just because as a startup, we move so fast, and going back to that resource issue where we don't have a ton of resources to get things done. We really need people who are able to come in and be able to hit the ground running. And so I personally would wary of hiring people who are a little bit too junior for the job, or who haven't had a lot of experience actually owning and shipping features and products in their career. Whereas I think larger companies have more tiered product management roles, where you could, for example, you could totally go start as an APM at a Google or a Facebook, where you could, kind of dedicate a couple of years to learn the weeds of product management, right from, writing user stories, managing a backlog, all the way to then scaling up to owning more strategic initiatives and kind of executing on that. Whereas I don't think startups necessarily have the luxury of creating that kind of hierarchy, because they really have to move fast and time is money. And so I think, yeah, that's been kind of my biggest, I would say one of the biggest differences that I've personally seen. In terms of like breaking into the job, I would say that I think the aspect of job searching probably stays the same. I think with startups, you absolutely have to be very clear on why you want to work there and why you connect with the mission, because that's essentially what's going to keep you going when shit gets really hard. So I think, yeah, I would say like maybe those are the two big differences.
Oh, I saw you unmute for a second. It's who can unmute the fastest. Thank you for that question. I really love that bit of intentional. I'm having a brain fart, but applying with intention. There we go.
Yeah.
So whether it's a big or small company, so that's really great. Grace, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think we have like a minute for the judge come-ins, but I just want to say I was a bioengineering major as well, and I was yeah, and now I'm doing design, but product design. But I saw on your website, I was like kind of like looking at your artwork, and I really love all of them as well. And I'm just like, it seems like you do so many things. I'm just so curious, like, what are your goals, I guess, like, because you do like healthcare tech product, also UX design and art as well, and like what inspires you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I don't have like a clear answer to just yet, because I think I'm still learning a lot about myself and figuring it out. I think there's I've always tried to position myself as a generalist and in terms of like applying to opportunities and stuff, until very recently, where I think I've kind of really like over time, over like I guess years of doing health tech product management, I think I've kind of settled in on that as like my career choice. But that being said, even within my job, and this kind of goes to kind of why I decided to come to a startup again, was because I get to like wear different hats in the role itself. So for example, actually last weekend, or actually this Friday, I spent a lot of my Friday night like actually making illustrations for this storyboard testing that we're going to do this week. And that's something I probably wouldn't have done at a larger company, because I'm sure there's probably someone there who's like way better at doing that, and is probably not a good use of my time in a larger company. But yeah, so I think for me, like just having those a desire, like passion for art, and the desire to kind of learn new tools has been very helpful. In terms of where I'm headed, I am definitely looking into entrepreneurship as kind of a next step, which is also another reason why I'm in an early stage company, just to kind of get, learn the weeds of not just product management, but also like, how do you essentially take a business from start to, finish, and like, basically what are all the different aspects of raising money and building a team and so on and so forth. And I think, yeah, to me, I think that is going to be a logical next step. But in terms of how quickly I get there, time will tell.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also have a lot of interest just like you as well. So it's great to hear. I think the judges are back. And Kelsey, did you want to take it away?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, by the way, for your awesome presentation. I was actually doing a lot of Instagram stories with some takeaways. So you're only get notified as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Big thank yous in the chat for Anu. That was such a great way to end the chat as well, talking about goals. And just before we hand it off to Kelsey, I just want to take a moment to congratulate everyone who's here for getting through the program. Give yourself a pat on the back. That was a really big accomplishment to get through. 5 weeks is a long period of time to stick with something, especially when you have all sorts of life happenings happening at the same time. So really proud to see all the awesome work. It was really hard to figure out who the finalists would be, and you guys really came through with some awesome presentations. So really good job, everyone. We do hope that this has been a super meaningful experience for you all, and that you've connected with teammates that you'll be able to, grow professionally with, and who knows, maybe work together in the future. And on that note, I'll hand it over to Kelsey as we get ready to announce our winners. Let's get drum rolls in the chat.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jack. And just to rehash what Jack mentioned, we're so proud of all of you. And a lot of our teams in these past events, like our protothons and other ideating events, do go on to actually try to push their product forward, or actually try to work on it more, or write a case study about your experience, post it on LinkedIn, right? All of these will help build your portfolio and deepen your product knowledge. And that's what we're here to celebrate and just learn more about. So without further ado, really excited to announce the results. I will say we had a pretty heated conversation in the judges breakout room. It was not easy. A lot of different discussions about a lot of different aspects. So kudos to all of you for doing an amazing job presenting to the top 5 teams. All right, so I'll announce third place first. We have Beacon. Yeah, so give yourselves a little pat on the back. Congrats. And we'll be announcing the prizes after we announce all the placements. And then, all right, so we'll go to second place now with Javit. Yeah, Javit, congrats on second place. You guys did an amazing job. And then finally, in first place, we have Butterfly. Yeah, congrats to you guys. Amazing job to all the top 5 teams. Really proud of your work, and looking forward to seeing everyone's work on their LinkedIns, on their portfolios. And yeah, thank you all so much. I'll turn it over to Jack to talk a bit about the prizes.
Sure. Well, before we get into the prizes, just congrats everyone. And again, let's take a moment to thank our judges for sharing their time with us and their expertise, especially hearing that it was a heated conversation in there. That's how close this all was. So the judging was quite hard. So thank you, judges. That was really great of you all. Now on to the prizes. So first place, Butterfly, you will each win Adobe Creative Cloud for 1 year. So that's all of the products on Adobe Creative Cloud, as well as $300. And maybe you'll be able to use that to better work on your design solution in the future. Really cool. Congrats, team. Second place, you have won $200. And third place, $100. But beyond these prizes, we also really just wanted to put emphasis on, we hope that this was a great experience, and that not to sound corny, but that the experience was, the journey was a little bit more worth the final prize you may have in the end. And I loved how Kelsey kind of reiterated the point on building these out into larger case studies, sharing it with your peers. It'll certainly help you leverage yourself in the future. And we hope this was a really great experience for y'all. Any closing last words for our judges?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And I know some of y'all talked about continuing your projects, which we're so excited to see, and definitely stay in touch, and we would love to share them. Definitely just share them on Discord, or share them with Design Buddy, share them with Product Buds. We'll just love to check them out and check out your progress too, and support y'all.
Awesome. And with that, I believe we are finished. Congratulations again on making it through the 5 weeks, and for awesome presentation day. Thank you again to our judges. We'll be in touch with the winners on details around your prizes, And congrats everyone for making it through this program. It was really fun
Yes.
having you all, and we hope this was a great experience for everyone.
Let's do a group photo.
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh my gosh, a group photo.
Yes.
So if you want to come on TV, everyone join us, please.
This will all
Wow,
in
so
case-
many beautiful faces.
Yeah, I know, right? This will be posted on YouTube shortly after this. It's recorded on our Zoom account, so we just post in case y'all missed any part of it. But yeah, thank you all so much, and feel free to like rep your own Zoom background. Where the product slash, I can't talk right now, it's like a tongue twister. Where the product slash Zoom background. And yeah, so we'll do a static one first, and then a wave for our Instagram story over at Design Buddies, and I'll tag product buds so y'all can reshare as well. And so I will count down 10 seconds for everyone to turn on their camera. If you want, you can grab your stuffed animals, you can grab your plushies. Whatever you want. We always do this because we're Lakuma, our friendly bear. I always bring us some photos. And yeah, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, smile. Oh, see people still turn on the camera. All right, last time. All right, let's do a wave. I'm gonna do it on our stories. Let me announce the winners as well. Oh, people are still coming in. All right, ready, set, wave. Hello, all of our wonderful product buds and Fluffle Bud. I'm so sorry, I can't speak right now. All right, ready, set, go. Hello, our wonderful Fluffle Buds. We just finished our product slash pitch day. Congratulations to our finalists, Butterfly, Jobit, and Beacon. Thank you all so much for coming, and definitely stay in touch, everyone. Cool. All right. That is all. Is there anything else? Any closing remarks? Any words of wisdom from any of our judges? Anything you wished you knew earlier when you're starting out in your career? Anything?
Sure. Quick thank you to the organizers here. It's immensely the workload just to put something of this magnitude together. The 5 weeks, let alone up until this day. Way to go! It takes a village, a whole community to make something like this happen. So for everybody here, absolutely, thank you for all the hard work that you did. And organizers, don't forget about yourselves. Y'all deserve a lot of credit. In terms of parting words, this is fantastic to watch y'all come to presentation day, have wonderful presentations, support each other, whether you're competing or not. The amount of support that I saw in this room was just fantastic, so superb. That's the kind of thing that you want to see, particularly for me as a judge, people rooting each other on. And that's the kind of karma that I think just successful people tend to have. Learn from each other. There's lots of things that went well. There's lots of things that could be improved upon. So when you're going through the Q&As and you're tracing back into your presentations and thinking about the judge feedback and your memories with each other, think through that. Think about how wonderful and how competitive this was. There's plenty of debates on the judges' side, so well done. Plenty to learn and plenty to appreciate, and carry that on with you into your careers. I can't wait to see what y'all do. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Awesome, thank you so much. That was great, and definitely feel free to keep. Life is always a process and journey, and y'all showed up today, and y'all completed all of your projects, which is, as Jack said, not an easy accomplishment. So y'all should be really proud of yourself as well. And y'all welcome to use this on your portfolios. You can also post this in Design Buddies for feedback or anything you want. But we hope you continue to work on your projects and continue supporting each other. I just love the whole vibe of our Fluffle Buds in the chat as well. So yeah, thank you so much. Any other last words from anyone? I just don't want to cut anyone off.
I think you summed it up perfectly right there, Grace. Thank you, everyone. This has been a really great day. Really loved seeing everything. Until next time, stay in touch. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Are we just doing a quick debrief? Let me stop recording.